All right, you guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. We drove out here to Kelowna. I had to get out of the city, you guys. I had to leave. I had to hit up some roads that weren't just in my backyard. I try to switch it up for you guys in the kinds of roads we drive here on the channel, but here in Kelowna, in the Okanagan, here in BC, there are some of the, what I would consider some of the best driving roads that we have here in BC. So what other car best to drive these roads than the new Mk8 GTI. So VW with this generation went way further, as they should, down the rabbit hole of refinement, daily drivability, while still packing a punch if you want to hit the twisties, or even if you want to, like the owner of this car, Tim, hit the track. So let's go for a drive. We're just going to drive today. We're going to hear the car, we're going to listen to the car, we're going to talk to Tim, and he's going to show us a little bit what he's done to the car to make it better. Let's get in and enjoy the ride. And drive we will. Not quite as long as we were expecting though, as the mics cut out seconds after these famous last words.
Do the sport diff, so go activate it.
Oh yeah.
Go sport.
You notice a big difference on that?
Yeah, oh yeah. It pulls and allows you to do a lot more power through the corners.
How's the torque steer? Should I anticipate torque steer?
There's no torque
None?
steer. The
Oh,
LSD
I love it.
fixes everything.
That's awesome.
There's no torque steer at all.
Modern. Evidently, it seems the GTI was offended I'd even ask such a question. The answer is a resounding no, as we're about to find out. While the loved and hated Veloster N got lost and went haywire, barely making it out to the other side alive, and with all four wheels on the pavement, the GTI pushed deeper into what it's known best all along, refinement. As the new kid on the block, this is all still very new for the Veloster N, so to expect a certain level of acceptable behavior the first few miles out of the gate is a bit of a laugh. I'm gonna call you a fool for that one. Especially when the GTI has been the gatekeeper for what's acceptable behavior for as long as I can remember. So it's no surprise that this new Mk8 GTI doubles down on what is mature and acceptable, but not without a few tricks. 241 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque from the 2-liter direct injection inline 4. Slight bump in power and torque from the previous generation, all of course still, with the 6-speed manual as an option. The definition of a hot hatch may be blurred, but thank the car gods we still have a third pedal on our side this time around. The one I'm driving today is dual clutch, which, yes, is of course quicker. If you needed me to say that it's quicker, you're missing the point entirely. All right, you guys, let's find out what's under the hood of this Mk8, what's done, and what the driving experience has been like. How's it going, Tim?
Good yourself?
Good.
Good.
So,
Good.
T3 performance, eh?
It's me.
That's you. Why the Mk8 Golf GTI? And real quick, what have you done to it? What's so special about it?
Why the Mk8? They changed a lot in this generation, and I love most of the changes. We can get into that later. But as for performance, out of the box, this car is a ton of fun. You get LSD in the front end, you get 240 horsepower on 87 octane. That's huge for a lot of people. And I'm super excited to see what a bunch of performance companies are gonna be doing, unlocking that power, put better fuel in there, and really, really see what this hot hatch can do.
Usually drivers' wide eyes say it all, so perhaps you'll just be able to read the torque on my face. I don't know. I don't need to say much, and I can't pull off much of a poker face. Yes, it's fast. If that's surprising to any of you. The level of grip I was able to achieve with the sport differential setting and this new rear brake vectoring going on behind the scenes was, in hindsight, something I probably should have expected. It made me question just how many of you Golf R drivers need that car in your life? Or with the blindfold, how many would be fooled behind the wheel of this GTI? I guess we'll never really know. When Tim told me there's no torque steer, he was not far off, okay? The car is clearly tech-focused and leaning out of the analog decades with ease. Torque steer and any fuss or vibrations that may have occurred in the past have virtually been eliminated here. Despite this, or maybe because of it, the ride leans towards stiff in most scenarios. Because if you're not tossing it into a corner like there's not a 50-foot cliff beside you, you never know how much grip you have on tap. The GTI won't ever egg you on or remind you what's under the skin. You're expected to know when to sharpen the blade and use it wisely. If you want a hatch that pokes and prods at you, this isn't it.
Really depends what you want out of your car. What I loved about the Mark 7R, launch control from factory, paired with that DSG. I went drag racing with it, being able to do that and then go get groceries. I loaded a brand new dishwasher in the back of my R. I'm sure I could do the same in this, but I really am slowly starting to miss traction with the GTI. So I think inevitably I'll probably end up upgrading to an R.
So speaking of traction, we've got non-factory wheels, non-factory brakes, and not factory tires. What's the setup and what's the use case for your current setup right now?
So yeah, obviously I was missing traction a ton and I did the best that I could with this setup. So through one of my suppliers, we ended up finding 2 of these Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s at a wicked price. I ended up having to buy 2 matching ones off eBay from Italy. Crazy, ridiculous. But these tires are awesome. They're 245 4018s. I went with some OZ Ultra Lego wheels. I think they're just under 20 pounds a piece, 19 point something, 18 by 8 ET45. We did a stud conversion from Racing Line, and then Racing Line Stage 2 front brake upgrade kit. So it's the same size as the stock rotors, but a 4-piston fixed caliper, way better pads, and the rotor is way thicker, way better cooling, and a little bit of slots in there to get rid of the gases.
So is this basically a more stout brake even than a Mark 8 Golf R?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
way better. On the R, they went single pistons on the front and single piston on the rear. That being said, the single piston was massive. It worked great, but if you're heating these things up, they need all the help that they can get to cool off.
Mm-hmm. Adaptive dampers are optional, and the configurations with the Autobahn model are immense. From where I'm standing, it's the furthest towards the 992 GT3 RS's damper control settings as a GTI could possibly get away with. This is a hatchback, folks. More than most people will need, right? I have a feeling for most, this will become a set it and forget it kind of mentality. After all, it still could very easily be your only car. So I'm not sure if Tim watched any of my previous reviews on modern performance cars with wheels fit for your drug dealer's Escalade, but he's answered every one of my ride quality critiques before I even set foot in the car. Huge difference in road feel and ride comfort, just adding a bit more precision and feel to the already lightning quick steering. The GTI airs a little on the safe side, as it usually does, feeling a bit sharp and clinical. It's undeniable. The added grip and feel just brings out the best in the car.
For the drivetrain, we just did lowering springs. So we did lowering springs and brakes from Racing Line, obviously the wheels and tires. And then under the hood, we have Racing Line's fully enclosed intake. Racing Line made performance parts for Volkswagen Motorsport, and then they kind of veered off to their own company, so they make performance parts aftermarket as well as doing R&D for Volkswagen Motorsport. So their intake and their plastic looks OEM. It's got all the OEM dimples, it's hard plastic, it looks gorgeous, And then we have a piggyback tune from them as well. So it bumps up the horsepower a little bit. We throw a little bit better octane in there, and everything is real nice and happy, and it's a ton of fun.
As far as refinement has taken this car, the braking feel is a standout characteristic here. Refined, yes. Numb, the opposite, okay? They're simply amazing. One of the high points for me on the car. Not sure how much of that comes from these upgraded 4-piston calipers. There's just gobs of humble confidence here. Whereas the Veloster N would have a part of you guessing if you'll make it out of the next corner alive, the Mk8 just doesn't take any unnecessary risks. Except, of course, in the case of the haptic feedback buttons that make up most of the new interior. While I barely had a straightaway long enough to play with a lot of these settings, the learning curve seemed apparent immediately.
I mean, Volkswagen's sports cars, if you want to call them, have always been on the comfort, live with it every day, daily driver side. They're still keeping with that. The aggressiveness I like. It grew on me a little bit. I didn't love it at first. The grille is really big and open. The overall styling is super aggressive. Obviously with our satin paint protection, it makes some of the lines pop even more. Overall styling, I like it a lot.
Interior, a lot of the feedback on the haptic feedback has not been good.
Yeah, it's got to be my least favorite thing about this vehicle. I just don't feel it's proper to have to look down and look where I'm pressing, whereas buttons, you kind of get used to it. You get used to where the volume up, the skip is. They've done an okay job. I think they're trying to move into a lot of the hand gestures and audio controls. I just don't love it. Everything else about the interior is amazing. Seats are way better than a Mark 7.
If this ever-growing love for a larger front grille is pushback for the minimalistic front ends of most EVs, I would not be surprised. The Mk8 moved much of its intake space below the emblem. The car certainly looks much better in person than it does in photos. It's been growing on me, despite the fact the rear end could very easily be confused for a Golf R. Yeah, T3, tell me a little bit, what do you guys do and where can people find you?
Yeah, we're located in Kelowna in the industrial area of Sexsmith. We specialize in European vehicles, mainly Volkswagen, Audi, BMW, Porsche, Mercedes. Our slogan is maintain, modify, and more. So we maintain your vehicle, do your little extra personalized touches, and everything else you need to make your car exactly how you want it and last forever.
At the end of the day, the GTI is still a GTI, but better. It's grown up, even when we thought we'd seen the last of the creases ironed out and the last of the introductions needed. It's hard to believe this may be anyone's first GTI purchase, but if that's the case, it may take a bit to get warmed up to its charm, especially compared to any of the youthful competition. Push it, find the limits, and that's where the epic stories will come from. This goes with any hot hatch, okay? Until then, the GTI will stay at a whisper, never egging you on to push much more than what was expected of even the base cars we will now miss. Or will we?